Sure, welcome to the Graduate Admissions Open House Day. You've landed in Graduate Yoga Studies. So if you haven't already taken the opportunity to check out our website and a bit of the curriculum, there's a couple different program options, a 2-year in LA, a 3-year remote online, and PGYT yoga therapy option that can be either during or after your master's completion. My name is Amy. I graduated as part of cohort 2 in 2016. And after that, I moved to Florida and I had one of those serendipitous alignment opportunities to take on ownership of a yoga studio there. In kind of this middle of nowhere town, which I thought was a really cool opportunity to share yoga as I now know it. And so I did that for almost 4 years until I was invited to interview back in LA at LMU. And I'm now very excited to be back in LA, which I consider my home base, my chosen home. And in this role as program associate, where I get to meet all of you prospective students, answer your questions. And once you are in the program, I also will kind of help walk you through any questions you have as you go along. So I invite you to ask me any questions today, but also always you can email me directly. I'm excited. We have 4 student alumni, 2 current students, 1 residential, 1 low residency, and 2 alums. So I hope you'll take advantage. That's pretty special to have them all here and ask all your questions. Yeah. Anything to add, Dr. Chappell, or we can have our alums introduce?
I think I'll just introduce myself a little bit. I started yoga when I was, it was so many years ago, but I was about 15 and building on a meditation practice that I had started when I was 13. And I never looked back. It was just so life-giving, life-changing, transformative. And part of what landed me in the academic sphere was a high school course where we had studied India for 10 weeks, East Asia for 10 weeks, Africa for 10 weeks, Latin America for 10 weeks. That's like the equivalent of a college course in each of those areas. And it was very, very energizing. So when I landed at university, I knew that I wanted to immerse myself in the study of world culture. And I did actually advanced work in each of those different respective areas, or at least undergraduate work, and then eventually specialized in Sanskrit literature and Tibetan literature, simultaneously while undergoing a 12-year ashram experience. And that's what probably sparked up the entrepreneurial aspects that are required to be in the yoga world, but also to introduce yoga into academia. And I've been at LMU since 1985. I'm one of the senior most faculty at the university. And it's a wonderful place. And we've really been blessed with so many talented students that have come this way over the years, and we're so delighted to welcome back these 4 people, or to welcome here these 4 people to share with you a little bit of their experience.
Awesome. Ashley, why don't you kick us off?
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Ashley Mccachey. I'm just so honored to be here. I came into this program in 2015 after spending 4 years at Loyola Marymount University getting my yoga therapy certificate. So I am 45 years old. I started my yoga journey back when I was 34. And after I took my 200-hour, I actually found somebody who taught at my yoga studio. In their bio, that they got their yoga therapy certificate at LMU. And, you know, I've lived in Southern California pretty much my whole life. And I applied to LMU when I was 17. And I remember being on that campus and overwhelmed by how beautiful it was. And there was always just this connection that I had to LMU. And even though I didn't go there in my undergraduate, my life actually took me to Italy for 10 years, but I had always had a special place for LMU in my heart. And so after I graduated from my 200-hour, I immediately applied for this yoga therapy certificate. I didn't know what that was, really. All I knew was that I loved yoga. I loved wanting to help people. And so I completed that certificate, all the while hearing that there was going to be a master's program kind of coming up soon. And I love academia. My whole family has PhDs. My husband's family are all teachers. And I have always loved the college experience. And so I basically had this one-pointed focus of what I wanted to do in my life. I wanted to work as a yoga therapist and work with people in chronic pain. And I also wanted to work at a college. And I wanted to be a full-time professor, a yoga professor. And so when I got accepted to the program, I sat down with a graduate and I said, so what am I supposed to do? You know, this is a great opportunity. I get to be immersed in yoga, you know, at LMU again with the best professors in the country, learning the most amazing things about yoga and everything in alignment with that. So what do I do during this time? And she said, well, what I suggest to you, if you want to teach at a college and be a professor, stay at a college, get really clear about what you'd want to do to get into that college, right? So I decided, okay, so I am going to, with every project I have at LMU and every class I have, I'm going to start to build up a lot of information, a lot of data, a lot of work so that I can be accepted into a college where I can create a yoga teacher training program. So I did that. I got all of my ducks in a row. Every assignment I had to do with building on this idea where I would get hired somehow, some way into the community college where I live, called Orange Coast College, because I had gone there when I was younger, and then I went to UC Irvine right after that. But that was the dream, that was the vision. And so right after I graduated from LMU, I luckily was able to go in and get an interview, and I applied to work as a yoga instructor at Orange Coast College. I got the job and just happened to have this amazing kinesiology dean who supported every move I made, because when you graduate with a master's in yoga studies, nobody else has that. So you are the absolute go-to person for all yoga and wellness around, right? You know, you are the expert. So in the kinesiology department, I've got, 60 colleagues. Everybody goes to me for information about health and wellness in regards to yoga, mindfulness, meditation, all of that. So I created a yoga instructor training program through Yoga Alliance. It is now considered a career and technical education program at OCC. And, I am on my one-pointed focus. I know exactly what I want, but I do want to become a full-time professor at Orange Coast College. The cool thing is I was able to write a job description for a yoga professor, full-time yoga professor, and then that gets rated by the college and the district. And out of 30 jobs, right, for everything from like a full-time football coach to a astronomy professor to whatever, I was ranked 10. And so you have to, of course, there's so many that they're going to take, which didn't happen for me, and then COVID hit. But the thing that was amazing to me is that the college recognized this as something that could potentially happen in the future. I mean, which is just so amazing. So, I'm absolutely thrilled with my experience at LMU. Basically, I set aside half of my life as a yoga therapist and the other half as teaching students at Orange Coast College how to be yoga teachers. And I would never be where I am without both of those programs completely supporting me and giving me the drive to get exactly what I set my mind to. So that's me. Happy to be here.
Such a cool trajectory, and really neat to hear kind of the play-by-play in your thinking, which is that entrepreneurial piece of I'm going to take the initiative to pave the way. So thank you for sharing.
And for her master's thesis, she wrote the plan for teaching yoga at Orange Coast College, for doing the teacher training at Orange Coast College. So she's a determined individual with success.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is really what is going to create success for all of you. Having a clear plan as to why you're here, what you want to get out of this master's program. There's many different avenues you can take, many different paths, but the sooner you become very clear, right? You have that viveka, you have that very clear path in front of you, doors just start to open for you, and it's just incredible what you can accomplish when you've got a master's of yoga studies behind your name from Loyola Marymount University. I mean, I say that and doors are wide open.
Thank you. Judith.
Hi, everyone. I'm Judith Carlisle, and I'm just going to answer the questions as they're posed. What brought me to LMU, and then what I'm doing with my degree. And in about the year 2015, I got into a point in my life where there was I wanted a lot of change. And in the field I was in, which was computer science and information systems, a woman, Kathy O'Neill, wrote a book called Weapons of Math Destruction. And I was kind of tired of being in a field where I couldn't really explore things that I wanted to, like, and understand them. And these were things like injustice in the world. There was at the time, there were states that were playing with ideas like drug testing people who were applying for food stamps. And I was just at a point in my life where I was becoming very aware of injustice in the world and developing an appetite to do something about that. And I'm a little opposite of Ashley. I had an academic career for my entire adulthood, and I really wanted to leave the confines, the narrowness of the people I was able to influence when I was in academia. So my yoga story is a little, I love my yoga story, and it is when I was 2 years old, my very first memory is doing yoga with my grandmother. And so that began my relationship with yoga. And it was not a constant relationship with yoga in my life, but it was one I kept coming back to. And lo and behold, in about 2012, I was living in Michigan, and that was when I came back to yoga again. So I was in a point of awakening and really wondering what I could do to make my workday more meaningful. And in yoga, I really wanted to get a better understanding of its history, its philosophy, and how I could kind of pull like an MLK and apply the principles of yoga to changing the world. And my mother was the person who discovered this program, and she kept saying to me, you need to go there, you need to go there. And one day I said, okay, I'm going to apply there. And I applied, and I was, remember the day that I drove out to meet Chris Chappell, and I was just so excited to find out about this program where I could do something that was, I feel like I'm good at school, and get a degree in yoga studies. And then the second part of it, then that really cemented things. It's a bit personal, but I was in a really bad car accident. I was hit by a car, and it really made me renew an interest that I had in death. That was another one of these interests that I'd had throughout my life. And I really wanted to explore this through like the lens of the yoga tradition, the Dharmic traditions. And it sounds like really morbid, but it's not, because it's really uplifting and really very beautiful. And that ended up being what I did my thesis on. So currently what I'm doing is I moved to Denver immediately when I got through with the program. And I've been in lockdown in Denver, so I haven't really had an opportunity to get to know the city, but I have had an opportunity to turn my mind toward developing a workshop series on the Dharmic traditions and death. And that's something that I wanted to do. So that's one thing that I've been doing. And then the other thing that I've been doing with the degree, and that I'm very, very grateful for, is I'm teaching the yoga, mindfulness, and social change for the certificate program at LMU, where I'm really able to develop and apply these ideas, these questions of how do we intentionally and explicitly take yoga philosophy, yoga practice, and put it to use, instilling exciting people in yoga to take their practice and their knowledge out into the world and social change at the micro to the macro, whatever level, and really, really use yoga to become people in the world who change it. So that's what I'm doing.
Can you give an example of a couple of the folks that you invite in to speak? Maybe talk a little bit about, I think they all know about Andrea Jane, and they've read some of her stuff, and she's going to be coming.
So in the mindfulness and social change, we run the gamut. First, we look at, so I really take, in this course, we're really looking at social change from a perspective of social justice. So some of the people that we have in are, to name some people, besides Andrea Jane, whose relationship to social change and social justice through yoga is very clear. So we have Dr. Saha from, who is an academic who looks at, let's say, relationship of yoga to food. We had Jonathan Dickstein, who is doing a lot of work on ahimsa and other beings. So the relationship of diet with relationship to animals and how we relate to that. Almost got Angela Davis to come speak with us, and that was going to be my crew, but it wasn't. We had Changa Bell, who is a man out of Baltimore, Maryland, who created, it's called the Black Male Yoga Initiative, with the goal of training 10,000 Black male yoga teachers to start really addressing that community. And my mind goes blank because I wasn't expecting to answer this question. But we had Dr. Sabrina Strings, who talked about body image and yoga, right? So the body positive. We're having Matthew Remsky coming in to talk. He was going to talk to us about yogi gurus behaving badly, but he's changed that. He's going to be coming in the next 2 months, and he's going to be speaking, interestingly enough, about the infiltration of conspiracy groups like QAnon into the spiritual community. So that's going to be really fascinating. We've had owners of the Tree South yoga studio in LA talking about social change, barriers to the yoga practice. And we've had the Yoga Prison Project, yoga and criminal justice. So we try to cover all of these areas of social change. And we had Dr. Veena Howard, who is an amazing Gandhi scholar, to bring Gandhi alive again into the 21st century, his message anew. And so we have some national figures, and then we have just local people who are just Mark Lilly, who talks about trauma in yoga, who are very much a part of the LA, Southern California yoga scene. So this running the gamut of a number of different people, different voices, and mindfulness. We also had Marie's Stapleton Chapel come in to talk to us about meditation, mindfulness, and social change, because social change starts with ourselves, right? And yoga is this extraordinarily powerful tool that allows us to become more compassionate in ourselves and be able to then turn that compassion outward into the world. So that's the mindfulness and social change class.
Thank you. Bubbling with excitement, Katie and I are working on some anti-racism systemic analysis, and we're like this and this and this from what we'll be in touch. So many great people. And Matthew Remski was very influential in my journey as well. So, okay. Let us see in order of seniority, John Kingsley.
Am I third in seniority? It must have been a while. I guess time flies. But anyway, thanks Judith and Ashley and Amy and Dr. Chappell for hosting this, and welcome to everybody. Glad you're here. My name's John. I live now in Huntington Beach, so down the street from where Ashley teaches at OCC. And I came to the program via sort of a convoluted Google search. My day job, at least up until COVID hit, was to play in a touring rock band full time. And the one thing that people don't understand about that gig is you have a lot of downtime. It's just not on anybody else's time, right? So like if we're driving to Florida, I got 15 hours to sit in the van and stare either out the window or at Netflix. And I had been taking all of these sort of like continuing education courses, and as the price of them went up and up and up, you know, and my mom was a yoga teacher when I was growing up, so I've always been around it. And I got a 200-hour some years ago, and had been actively teaching. And when we were home from on tour, you know, I worked at Core Power, which is a big box studio around here, and would teach at various gyms. So, you know, I just had to pay my first gym membership in like 6 years, which was a new thing because I'm not on you know, they're not really hiring yoga teachers anymore, at least until COVID. But so I was always sort of interested in the philosophical side of yoga, the linguistic side of what was going on, the relationship between older texts and new texts. And that was always something that captivated me. And as I would sign up for these like continuing education courses, and it was, you know, a few $100s here, a few $100 there. And finally I thought, well, maybe what if there's a program out there where like, if I'm going to keep taking these classes online, like, what if there's something where I can have something to show for it at the end of it, right? Like a degree, you know? And so I Google, like, I think online masters yoga, and LMU pops up, and it's like, it's right up the street essentially, you know? So, and it was, you know, it was perfect. And I signed up through it via that. And I am one of the low residency students, meaning that even though I'm local, I, before COVID, would attend the classes via Zoom. You know, they're all recorded. You can access them at any time, and you have just as much access to the teachers and the other students in your cohort as the other ones do. We came on campus for about, you know, I think 2 weeks for the foundational class. And yeah, other than that, it would be me chiming in from the back of a van. So of course, COVID hit, and we kind of all had a leg up on everybody else because we'd been doing Zoom for a year already. So we kind of had that already going. And you know, as far as the after plan, I guess, I'm very much interested in sort of the new frontier of online education, right? Like with COVID, there are some things that are going to go back to normal, and there are some things that are not. And I think what we've realized is that this access to education that Dr. Chappell set up beforehand, you know, with the low residency program, is you don't necessarily have to be in the location. Now, obviously, like, you miss that human interaction. When I'm in LA, I try to come up and go to class, and it's great, and it's obviously preferable. but the idea of being involved in some sort of educational program, whether it's developing, an online school, whether it's teaching online, whether it's working on that, and doing something that I have with the time I'm, sitting in a van in between truck stops in the Midwest somewhere is very intriguing to me. And that's sort of where I've been carrying this educational element. I'm very interested in the philosophical side of it, very interested in the linguistic side of it. I've sort of jumped headfirst into Sanskrit, and remind Dr. Chappell to show you the Space Invaders video game I somehow dug up last week. That's how you know you've been doing this for a while. But anyway, yeah, that's sort of where I'm at with it. And I'm at the end of my second year. So I guess my fifth or sixth semester. My undergrad counted by semesters because the joke was nobody lasted 4 years. So they counted semesters to make them feel better at Berklee College of Music. But we're able to do years here at LMU. So I'm at the end of my second year in the program.
Awesome. What a cool experience. I think there's no doubt online learning is the wave.
Yeah, and I just want to give a shout out for the band. He calls it a rock band. But
oh, shucks, Dr. Chappell, you shouldn't.
No. It's more bluegrass type stuff. I mean, it's really very complex music. It's very uplifting. The band is called Brevit, Brevit, and check it out. It's just really fun stuff.
Thank you.
And last but not least, Miss Katie.
Yeah, thank you everyone who shared. I see elements of my story in each of you. I love the convoluted Google search because that's kind of how I found LMU too. I was approaching the end of my advanced yoga training and I just didn't want it to be over. And I got to go to India to complete my advanced certification. But as I was getting closer to the trip, I was supposed to go 2 years in a row, and the first year it didn't happen. And the second year it didn't look like it was going to happen. I just couldn't really afford it and it wasn't aligning. And so I was pretty down about that and got really serious about finding a grad school program. And I didn't think yoga was an option. So I was kind of looking at comparative religion and even writing different things. And I found this LMU program. And then at the last second, I got to go to India. So I kind of put a pin in my grad school search. And while I was there, I met Ashley, speaking of serendipitous alignment, as Amy mentioned. And she just let me pick her brain. And we sat at dinner one night and she just let me ask all the questions. And I loved her journey. And we actually, a lot of things, I met her husband too. And I had taken a class at Orange Coast College. We just had a lot of similarities in our educational path. So that was really, really nice. So it became clear that this was something I wanted to pursue. And, I applied right when quarantine was started. And I found out I got in, I didn't think it was actually going to happen. I applied kind of late in the game. I thought I had missed the boat kind of, and then it all just fell into place. And I'm really, really grateful it did. So I'm in my second semester. Everything has been virtual, even though I am a resident, technically everything's been virtual. But hopefully, I just got my vaccine. So hopefully I'll be able to come on campus again soon. And what I want to do with it, I would really love, it's been so nice to just continue studying yoga. I feel like it's a lifelong journey, right? I'm never going to want to stop learning. But for me, the comparative religion piece was key. I was raised, I went to private Catholic school all through high school. And it's so funny. My mom always laughs at me. She's like, you're this yogi now. What happened to you? We raised you this way. And I tell her, I'm like, Mom, actually these schools really opened my mind to spirituality. And that's where I took my first yoga class. And so I would love to either go back to either my high school or a high school where I can teach spirituality or teach at the collegiate level. And then just wanted to give, since applying, it's become very clear to me that social justice is really important to me too. And so I'm taking Judith's certificate program, and it's just so incredible and so inspiring. And I'm so grateful for that. So thank you so much, Judith. It's nice to be here with each of you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. So let's hear a little bit from each of you, questions, but also I think some introductions. I have met several of you, but let's hear maybe from Jackie, what brings you and any questions.
Hi, I'm Jackie. It's been a long and winding path to get here, actually kind of similar to Ashley's in a way. Everything Ashley was saying was really hitting home with me, so I feel like I want to ask her questions, but I'm not sure which questions. But yeah, I have, and then also actually with Judith, some similarities. I have a completely other industry that I'm working in. I work in market research. That's what I do every day. I quit my job a couple of years ago and decided to freelance, and that I wanted to bring yoga more central to my life. So I did my 200, I did my 300, and now I want to do yoga therapy. And I always knew about the yoga therapy program at LMU, and I always knew about the masters, but I didn't know they could be brought together until this year when I started looking into it a little more. So yeah, so I'm excited to be here, and I have applied, and I'm hoping to start in the fall, maybe, we'll see. But in terms of questions, I don't know. For me, I feel like I want to do all of the things, right? I want to do yoga therapy. I'm very interested in social justice. Really, in the end, I want to create a nonprofit that benefits low-income communities, but I also want yoga therapy to be a big part of my life in terms of that's where maybe I'm making the money. So I guess maybe with Ashley, just wondering how you're balancing those things. And is it 50-50? Because I know you're doing this teaching and then also the yoga therapy.
Yeah. Hi, Jackie.
Hi.
Yeah, it's interesting. When I graduated from my yoga therapy program in 2014, I got a job working at a functional restoration program clinic. So it was basically an integrative setting where I work with a physical therapist and a nutritionist and a Tai Chi master and a psychiatrist, and all of us help an individual try to get back into, the community and start to work again. And I worked there 10 hours a week. And then strangely enough, when I got the job at OCC, that was also 10 hours a week of classes I was teaching. So talk about balance. It was like perfect, right? Now, yoga therapy, I really didn't have a lot of homework or anything to do outside of being in that space, because they paid me for all of my time. So any reports I needed to do, I was paid for. There was not a lot of extra anything to grade like there is when you are, a college professor. So I would definitely say that Orange Coast College takes way more time. But it's all stuff that I enjoy, right? Because I'm reading my students' papers about yoga philosophy, and we have discussions, and I get to, write how I want to react to their, insights and reflections, so even though that's not like a time that I'm actually teaching, it's still so fulfilling. But I met a hairdresser a long time ago who said that she never works on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I was like, oh, I want to do that. And so I'm like, that sounds great, because I'm probably like many of you, where I've been hustling since I was very young. I got my first job at 15 and was just like, all right, I got to keep going. And so I do whatever I can to do the work as much as I can during Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday really for me and all the projects that I want to do, the writing, the spending time with my husband and family, and all of that. So I feel like the yoga therapy has really helped me in regards to self-care, because I've got to be absolutely clear and resilient and challenged in so many ways. So that has really taught me immense wisdom as how to balance and be in that place of sattva, right? So it's not too rajasic, not too tamasic, but right in the middle.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. I mean, I would say that that's one of my biggest struggles in life is I tend to take on a lot of things and try to put 100% into every single one of them, or 100% of my time almost into every single one of them. So finding that balance is where I struggle. But I like what you said about when you enjoy what you're doing, you know, it doesn't really feel like work. And that is really what I'm looking for. And I know that yoga is that for me. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I put my email address in the chat. If anybody doesn't think of a question right now or something that you want to ask me later on, absolutely email me. I'm happy to talk and continue. I have a Zoom account, so we can get, like everybody does probably. We can talk anytime.
And Jackie, where do you live?
I'm in Hermosa.
In Hermosa. Okay, very close.
Just down the street. I used to work at Yoga Works in both Playa and South Bay, so I would pass LMU all the time.
Wonderful.
Definitely a beautiful campus, and I've been there a couple of times because I had a friend who got her MBA there a few years ago. So visited her there once after a class, and then also when she graduated. And I've been there for Yoga Day.
Oh, very
Can't
good.
forget
Very good. And where did you go to college, Jackie?
I went 2 places. I went to Arizona State for my undergrad, and then my first master's, which was in journalism and mass communication with advertising as my concentration, was the University of Georgia.
Great. Yeah, I'm remembering it all now. So,
Okay.
and John is from Georgia.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, I grew up in Alpharetta, so the pipeline to UGA was strong.
Yeah, I loved UGA. It was great.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's
so
a beautiful campus.
What did you say?
It's a beautiful campus out there, and it's a cool area.
Yes.
And Athens is obviously a great music town. You know, we've been in and out of there a lot as a kid. So I've been to both Georgia theaters before it burned down and after it burned down. So
That was devastating when it burned down.
It's great now.
I've been both, but the original one was better.
Absolutely.
The original is always
Definitely.
You're making me want to go to Georgia. It's been coming up a lot lately.
Athens and Austin, those are the 2 big music college towns.
Great food town too. Athens. Oh my gosh, I could eat around campus. It's great foodie town.
Okay, it looks like you're next, Christine.
I feel like I connect with each of your stories, like little bits here and there. I came to yoga late in life, not until my 40s. I spent the first 20 years in the corporate world, and kind of a sort of a twist of fate. I walked into a yoga class and found myself. It was transformative. So, and I had that thirst for knowledge, just wanted to continue to learn more. I took Prime of Life yoga training. Larry came to the East Coast, yay. And I remember him saying, he's like, I said, I was going to be doing this teacher training and program. And he said, well, it's hard going from corporate America. It's hard to make a living. I said, I spent the first half of my life making money. I said, I want to spend the rest of my life making people feel a little better. So, and then I really the yoga therapy program interested me right away. So I started my monthly commute out to LA I did level 1, level 2, took a year off and then completed level 3. And it just, I just wanted to continue it's an amazing program. But, it's funny, I feel like I knew I wanted to pursue a master's, and I feel like while my personal journey kind of in personal practice went through the Panchakosha model, I feel like where my interest in terms of where I want to continue my studies kind of went a similar path. In level 1 in the yoga therapy program, we were focused on the musculoskeletal system. So I was saying, well, maybe I should go for a master's in occupational therapy. And then in level 2, everything connected when we learned about the Ayurveda model of and how disease starts to manifest at one of the subtler levels of the body. I'm like, well, I'm being short-sighted looking at the physical body, let's look at the intellectual body, the mental body, the spiritual body. So I was thinking, mental health and psychology. And then, really 2020, I could feel my personal practice moving towards the spiritual aspects of yoga and just everything. I had I lost both my parents in 2020. And so I think so I've really resonated with you, Judith, on the aspects of yoga. And I remember hearing someone say that Ayurveda is the science of life and yoga is the science of death. I remember hearing that a few times. And, during some personal experiences, like things that I had read in the Bhagavad Gita, just kind of came back to me. And it's that's very like and then just a couple of other things that happened. And like this is where I want to focus my studies in the, the spiritual aspects of yoga. So, I know it might be a morbid topic, but it is a part of life. And if I look at the whole process objectively, it's a really powerful experience. So so I feel like I'm kind of like later in the game than maybe I wish I'd found yoga earlier in my life, but I think for me, maybe I was meant to have these other experiences first that I can use that in my teaching. And I would love to be in academia. I love college campuses. I visit college campuses for fun. And another, John, I started guitar lessons 3 years ago. So at the age of 50, woohoo.
Yeah, never too late.
And that actually, I feel like my guitar practice is like, it's like another extension of Dharana. I lose all sense of time and space, and like I can sit there for 2-3 hours and it's healing. So, but yeah, that's thank you for sharing your experiences, because this has really been helpful for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing. And I know we've touched base before. It's good to see you again. Alex.
Hi. Trying to think of any questions I have. I'm curious, how has this program helped and developed your own sense of well-being and mental health, and just matured you overall as adults and people of this earth? Not in relating to profession-wise necessarily, but just in terms of finding your sense of self even further on the journey of life.
Can I start with that, Alex?
Yes, of course.
Because I feel that I can really identify with it, because as I said, I had this situation right before I got here where I was hit by a car, and the recovery of it was very bad. And I was living in North Carolina, and I actually was all by myself. And so I had to go to surgery by myself, and people I didn't know had to take me. So I was in a very vulnerable place when I came to this program. And what I want to say really speaks to the rigor of the program and the ability to immerse yourself into the program. And then LMU itself as this incredible, vital environment. So I spent my entire adult life on college campuses, but LMU was the most vital environment that I have been in. Constantly, there was so much going on. I wished I could just be there all the time. However, the program, the faculty are amazing. Lori Fazio, Dr. Lori Fazio, who does the therapy, I cannot tell you how her personal approach to teaching, first of all, her absolute mastery of the subject, but her delivery of it, to really drawing each student in, making each experience, each class with her a very meaningful thing. And the first thing I said to her was, I know nothing about the human body. I mean, I was raised in a Christian Science house. I know the hip bone's connected to the leg bone, and that's about it. And I said, I have no interest in health sciences, but I'm just going to do my best to get a good grade in this class. But by the time that class was over, I had learned so much. But just through the pedagogy, the cohort system that they use. So going through each class with the same group of people from the day that you start to the day that you end, made so many opportunities for growing personally. There are people that I met that I hit it off with immediately, and I loved people we had to work through differences at the same time that we were really working with some difficult subject matter. Sanskrit is nothing to laugh at. So I really found in that way, just the very environment was a place that I could come into and really continue on that part of my journey in health and wellness. And then of course the subject matter touches on it over and over again from every perspective, from the physical, from the spiritual, from the psychic. And so that's my attempt at answering your question. For me, it was transformative. So I came in feeling like I didn't want anyone to touch me. I was still in this place where I'd had my arm in a sling for months, to just feeling broad and open and able to really relate to so many different people on so many different levels. I love
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'll jump in too. It's, I think, one thing that you realize, and again, I got my undergrad in 2008 and I started this program in 2020. So there was some dust I needed to knock off from being in academia, but you're sort of reminded that in these situations, your classes are a starting point, right? And it's over the last 2 years, I've been able to sort of develop the discipline of learning expectations from a class, knowing how much time I have to put into it, like from the basic I mean, it's a master's degree. I think sometimes in any program, it can be underestimated how much reading there actually is, like I think that's the one thing I hear. And there's a lot of reading, like there's no way around that. And so, but that aside, like relearning. And I remember recognizing my undergrads in guitar performance, which is another kind of like ethereal sort of like out there subject matter where there's not necessarily like concrete boundaries, like there's no wrong answer to your finger picking blues guitar final. There's just not, right? Like you kind of got to commit to it. But learning how to set your own direction for what you're looking for in your studies. And that carries over 1,000% into anything you're doing in life, right? Like I'm not looking for all the answers from a book. I'm looking for a place to start from the book. And then it's up to me to commit to finding the answers on my own. Just like anything else too, you're going to get a wide range of opinions. Some you're going to agree with, some you're not, I think before I entered this program, as much as I tried for it not to be, yoga was sort of like homogenous, like, oh, it's yoga, and it's not, like you can definitely, like kind of like Judith alluded to, like you're going to find several different opinions on some very, very sensitive and difficult subjects, that you work through, that you read, that you process. And so it's helped me slow down a little bit. It's helped me pump the brakes. It's helped me kind of, try to study my way through something without reading my way out of something, if that makes any sense, So there's sort of this like academic discipline that's incurred through having to process so much information, and especially so much old and, we read a lot of opinions, we read a lot of interpretation, and you have to take that for exactly what it is. And that's been a very good exercise, especially in the world we live in now, where it's just constant 24/7 inundated with stuff, you know, like it's good to be able to have a foundation of something you can actually look at and read. I think in some ways too, that's the reason I'm kind of latched onto the Sanskrit thing, is because like the masculine nominative singular form is the masculine nominative singular form, and that's it. You know, like it's kind of a nice break from the thinking, but without going in circles, you know, the academic discipline that I've sort of been able to rediscover has helped me become more assertive in other areas of my life. And I think that would apply to any, you know, MA, not to undersell the program, sorry, but, you know, like that's not just a yoga thing, you know, like but it definitely, you will get it here. And it definitely is rigorous, you know, I think more rigorous. It's not teacher training too, you know, and I think if you come into it thinking it's teacher training too, you're going to read a lot more than you think. So.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Alex, I'd love to just say something really quickly. You know, I came into this program, you know, scared that I wasn't going to be good enough, that I wasn't going to be as smart as everybody else. I mean, it's a very competitive program. I remember just that first day and everyone introducing themselves, and I'm like, oh shit, okay. Wow, this is intense. Okay, people have been studying yoga for 35 years. You know, they've have this and that, and I was like, well, I don't have all this experience, and I'm going to be found out, right? And it was so great. I was going over, it was in Dr. Chappell's class, and we were going over the syllabus, and of course you have these projects and you have to, you know, go in front of the whole class and you present. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And then I read this little, you know, in italics, which was be as dramatic as you'd like to be, or something like that. And that like made my heart explode, right? So there was this freedom to be yourself, to be creative, to be, you know, use the skills and the gifts that you have to express yourself in this program. And, you know, I had an acting background, and I was like, all right, are you sure? You know, and it made me feel you know, supported, and it was just a really wonderful way to come in, knowing that I was not in competition with anybody here. I had the freedom to be myself and to learn yoga in a way that was going to make sense to me. And even though there were a lot of very, very smart people in my cohort, I was always going to have a different perspective, and that was encouraged. And so that's what made me feel good every day. That's what made me feel like, okay, I can do this. You know, I don't have to keep second guessing myself that I'm not good enough, you know, that I'm just good the way that I am. And I have a passion, and what is going to be interesting to me is maybe not interesting to others. And that's what makes me unique. And I'm going to go with that. And so I think that really helped me, again, connect deeply with what I needed in my life and who I was, to stay true to who I am and celebrate me, and not have to worry so much about everything else.
That's amazing. Thank you.
And
Thank
just
you.
not to take up too much time, but to piggyback off what Ashley said, a quick anecdote. My first day, right? Chris Miller, who I'm sure you'll all meet if you haven't yet, told us, he goes, you all have a place here. Like you were all supposed to be here, and not in like oh, the universe wants you here, and like it's a big cohort, but it's a small cohort comparatively, you know? So it's like, they read all of our applications, they watch all of our videos. When you're in the program, the faculty on hand believes that you have something to offer. And they made that clear from day one, which I think for all of us took kind of that weight that Ashley's talking about, that sort of like, oh, you know, like, what do I do? You know, like it really took that definitely off my shoulders. And you could feel like a tension, not a bad tension, but just a tension in the room just kind of evaporate after, you know, Dr. Miller said that. So there's that it's supportive, and it's definitely easy and encouraged to kind of find your niche within the yoga program here. So.
Yeah, and I'll just quickly add, like, everyone wants you to succeed too. Everyone's rooting for you. So if you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm not getting Sanskrit, like, people are there. Everyone wants to see you do well. No one's trying to flunk you, and just, you'll find that your cohort too is really supportive, and everyone's cheering each other on. And I'm so grateful. I can't think of any better use of my time while I've been quarantining, and even when we're not anymore. So.
Thank you.
You want to go back and do this again? I want to re-enroll.
Yeah, I think that's the winning question. We can all kind of write our memoir on the transformative process before, during, and after. So thank you for posing it. We have just a couple more minutes with our alumni and students, current students. So Laura and Laura. So I have Laura Malhotra. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. It's been so wonderful to sit here and listen to you. It's 1 o'clock in the morning in the UK, so that's why I was a bit fumbly at first. Yeah, I kind of do think, John, that when you said, oh, not in a, like, the universe wants you to be their way, I kind of get the sense from LMU that actually the universe does pull you to it, especially after hearing everyone's stories. And I really have felt like that with LMU. I don't even remember really how I knew about it. I think maybe I had heard about an alumni or something, but my background is that I'm currently finishing up a PhD. So when Judith spoke about escaping the confines of academia, I'm very much in that boat. So I currently attend the Graduate Center, which is part of CUNY in New York, and it's a public university. So there's a big kind of push for social change, social justice there. But I found that being a graduate student, actually the difference between just talking about it and doing it is quite large, and have been feeling very frustrated with kind of being an academic stuck in my little bubble, not feeling that I can help in a tangible way. So that's kind of what's drawn me to the program. And I guess coming off that, a question I have for Judith is really kind of what it looks like when you take your practice out into the world, because in some ways I feel like we're at the beginning of that journey. When I go on social media, I still very much see the homogenous side of yoga that we're trying to move away from, but I don't see as much in the way of how we actually utilizing it for all of the things that we know it could help with, you know, like, and I really I'm so interested in the mindfulness and social change certificate. I have a lot more questions, but I know it's already been an hour, so I'll just leave with that for now.
Could you just restate it?
Yeah, sorry, I don't know if my volume's low because again, it's 1 a.m. here. So I just wanted to know, because you spoke about kind of bringing yoga out into the world, bringing the practice out into the world. And I just wanted to know a little bit of tangibly, what does that look like? Is there an example you could give us that's not just academic debate or discourse?
So in the current world, the climate that we're at right now, particularly all over the world, not just in the Western world, we see a lot of people beginning to talk about their suffering, beginning to talk about their exclusion, right? We see another time in the US history where the struggle of minorities has come to the forefront, and really giving voice, right? So the question then becomes, can I take this yoga that I do and intentionally apply it in the world? But to answer your question, historically, right, we've seen 3 great people who used yoga to create huge social change: Martin Luther King Jr., Cesar Chavez, Gandhi, right? Took yoga, took the practice, took the internal discipline of mind that we get, the compassion that then our own knowledge of our suffering, right? That not only normalizes what suffering is in the world, but allows us then to become not overwhelmed by it, but to become direct with it and find ways to be effective in bringing social change with this eye towards social justice into the world. So one thing, we have to worry about the issue of spiritual bypass. So much of the time we think when we're yogis, because I'm doing this practice, right? That's enough. And immediately, I used to have a yoga teacher who would say, you know, your yoga is working because your relationships with everyone just get better. And then in your little circle, the purview of people that you interact with, you see that you can start to lead by example, right? I know you can bring so many people to yoga because they see what it does for you. Right now, we're at a time where we have so many people, particularly millennials and younger, who are so thirsty to make change in the world, but don't really know how to do that. So yoga, we have this history of applying nonviolent methods to change. But we also have these opportunities in front of us right now with people who might not have been able to develop the type of emotional resiliency, the type of mental and spiritual, psychic resiliency that they need to go out into the world to make change. So that's the first way that every yoga teacher does. But then when we start thinking about what does it mean to be a person in the 21st century, what does it mean to develop a better relationship with who I am in a capitalistic, commercialized world? How do I break out of that particular cycle? Yoga has those tools, has the tools to help us redefine our relationship to our society and find our role in the world. So once again, these are social change issues. An issue that I struggle with a lot is how can I take this practice and say, I'm going to use this tools, the science, the technology, and take it and make it be something in the world. And so many people will say to me, that's asking the wrong question. Yoga isn't about that. But I see so much opportunity for policy making, law changes within the law, public policy, public health, an ability in public health, addressing using yoga on a therapeutic level, but also introducing it into the medical world as not an alternative, but dovetailing it with the practices of typical medicine to start to treat the whole person. So that the treatment of somebody is not just giving them a shot or a prescription and turning them out into the street, right? And so here is an example. How doctors treat patients. This can change if we are able to align medical training with some of the principles and knowledge of yoga. And then when we start thinking about policy and how we start to fund medicine, by understanding the power of mindfulness and yoga techniques, we can start finding a way to become policymakers and broadening the outreach of yoga into the world with the intention of using what we know, how do I say this, taking what we know about yoga and making it available to people. One of the problems with yoga is that there's so many people who don't have access to yoga. And we can then, through public policy, give funding to making yoga much more available. And at the same time, if we can change public policy, going into politics, going into Washington, right, going into state legislatures, city legislatures, we can also then start to address some of the financial inequity that people who want to teach yoga, who want to bring yoga into the world face. The huge problem with yoga right now is we say that there's a glut of yoga teachers. And I think that's absolutely not true. What there is a glut of yoga teachers, of people who want to be able to make a living bringing this into the world. And I see nothing wrong with that. So educating people in social change then allows them to take that into whatever they do in the world. If they're a politician, if they're a scientist, if they're a teacher, if they've worked at NASA, no matter what they do, right? Allowing yoga organizations, government to see the importance of it. I think I just had part of this word that escaped me. But, I think in corporate America right now, we see I would say a bit of a dilemma. We see so many organizations turning to, and I see you, Chris, turning to yoga, saying that they want to bring yoga into the organization, but there's a bit of a problem because it's almost like they're exploiting yoga, right? To keep their employees, the wellness of their employees, so that they can just squeeze out a little more work from those people, right? But there's another opportunity from within corporations to help those organizations themselves transform into organizations that are more, that bend that moral arc toward justice and see that as part of their mission. So these are, I don't know if I was able to give you constructive examples.
That was so overwhelming that I feel like I could write another thesis just on this. Like, that was beautiful. Thank you. That was a lovely answer and very, great. Chris.
Yeah, I want to just give 4 examples. One is that our students teach undergraduates, and undergraduates are very much in a place of suffering due to anxiety and depression, and we're helping with undergraduates. 2 is that we work with Venice Family Clinic through the yoga therapy program, and we just have remarkable outreach, much of it in Spanish language, assisting people who otherwise would have no access to the tools that have made tremendous difference. Just in 6 free lessons, many of these people are unhoused and have just seen amazing benefit. We've had a number of students that have been involved with the Century Women's Detention Center. And it's a little bit hard to get into prison, but we've had many students that have done this on a regular basis, including Amy. And then we also did a 6-week residency in New York City with Covenant House, and we worked with 18 to 24-year-olds that were in transitional housing. It used to be a prison release dormitory, but now houses young people, and worked. The best effective work was with the staff, and the best staff people were actually the grounds people, because they're the ones that really hold everything for those young people. And that was another example. We haven't done that for a while, but we are out and active in the community.
Could I just ask, are these opportunities available to you right away when you enter, or is this something that you become eligible for after your first semester? Or
I'll let Amy answer that.
Yeah, I had to mute myself because I'm so excited about this topic. So it's part of my hope, and COVID threw a little bit of a wrench, but we were developing a series of these opportunities that you would be able to access right away. I started teaching in the prison the month before I started the master's program because an email went out, and that was very transformative in influencing my thesis. And I'm still doing work collaborating at the government agency level. So there's work to be done. There's almost too much work to be done. And it's after your first year that you can teach the undergraduates. We do ask that you have a year under your belt, but you're able to step up for that and other opportunities. Current students are involved with Prison Yoga and Meditation nonprofit to get into CRDF, Century Regional Detention Facility, as well as Twin Towers. And I'm in talks with people around juvenile detention centers, LAUSD school district, YMCA, Venice Family Clinic. What's the transitional center that just came up, A New Way of Life? We've got it going. We just need the world to reopen, and all of you enthusiastic experts to step in and do the work wholeheartedly.
And we also have a on-campus donor who funds yoga directly in 24 K through 12 schools in our immediate neighborhood. And many of our students pick up hours teaching. She partners with the YMCA and with LMU, and every school that you can, imagine, Lutheran, Catholic, public, they're all part of this, and it's another immediate opportunity. And I'm sure that once life returns, we'll be involved with that as well.
Yeah. Thank you. This is exciting, rejuvenating to even get the wheels turning with hope ahead.
I put something in the chat, just thinking of what Judith said. I was invited into this public awareness project, and the chat couldn't take the whole thing, but we were, as thought leaders, invited by the Hebrew Union College of University of Southern California to write letters to President Biden. So I wrote him a yoga letter that I've shared part of with you. So there's all sorts of things and opportunities.
Laura Liu, are you there? Can you unmute yourself? Yeah. Did I say your last name properly?
Yes. Hi, everyone. I guess you guys answered a lot of my uncertain questions. So thank you so much, because I'm very nervous, and meanwhile, I'm a lot of the uncertainty to coming in, because I'm not young. Actually, that's my 50 years old, so I'm gonna retire soon. So I was thinking about to do a lot of good things for yoga, because I got so much benefit for that. Just thank you for sharing all your story. I guess it made me more certain what I'm going to do for my yoga. But I do have like two quick questions. First question would be, do we have any chance to do some yoga practice during the class? I know it's a lot of study, but how about the physical parts? Yeah.
Okay, one of the things that we do usually twice a semester, and when the world returns to normal, I think we will definitely pick it up again, is that we have, I'm the chief steward, or have been, I guess I still am, for a 28-acre retreat owned by Insight Meditation, Los Angeles, in, believe it or not, Beverly Hills Post Office. And we do, usually it's on a Friday, and we arrive at 6 a.m. and I lead a yoga practice for about 2 hours that culminates in a walk up the canyon to the pepper tree, and it's like a little silent pilgrimage. And then with Lori's classes, there's asana integrated. And with my classes, usually I'm just talking too much to be able to slow down, to be able, but once in a while, we will do something. So in the Hatha Yoga class, which Lori currently is also teaching, of course, there is an in-depth literary and historical perspective, but it also requires that we have to participate in these physical movements. So it's assumed that most people have the homogenized version of yoga as part of their experience. And most people, well, we encourage everybody to just keep that going. And what we do is a little bit above and beyond.
Thank you. And how many students, I guess this will be, you call cohort 9, is that right? How many students will be in this group? Yeah.
So we say the cohort size is 20. We have a residential and a low residency cohort. So the last cohort 8 was 20, I think when they were admitted, there was 22 or 23. And then we had a few people who needed to take leave due to COVID emergencies. So we say around 20.
I see. So I think it's like two, if it's on the low residency, it's about like 2 class in 1 semester.
Yeah, with the full residential, you pretty much do 3, summer 1, summer 2, and then 3, and then 1. And with the low residency, you do this intensive summer course, and then 2 in the spring, 2 in the fall, 2 in the spring, 2 in the fall, 2 in the spring, 1 summer, and then you do 1 and 1. And if you're going to do the yoga therapy postgraduate certificate, which is, Laura, where do you live? Are you overseas?
I'm in Southern California, not North. You know, Tuesday.
Okay.
I'm like about like 40, 50 miles from LA. Yeah.
Okay. So you're here. That's
I'm
great.
Here.
Yeah. But for international students, if they really want to make the most of it, what becomes possible is to do the 3-year version, then do the postgraduate certificate version, in addition to that in a 4th year. And then the United States gives you a year, a residency permit for a year, and you just need to work on something related to your field of study. So that's the slowest possible way to get maximum benefit. And then, but you're right, it can be either the 3 or the 2.
So like, I didn't realize like on Tuesday, I realized like probably you need to have a 1 course about 10 hours study, including the course time. But I'm just a little bit concerned about like, if somehow my work is got really, really busy and I only can take 1 class for 1 semester, is it gonna be okay, or what's gonna happen?
You'd sort of fall out of step a little bit, but we could probably make it work. Amy, do you want to talk?
Yeah, I just want to take an opportunity we will answer this question, and I can hop on to these questions that are more personal about your trajectory, and we can talk about that. But I just want to thank the alumni and students who are here and let you guys skedat because you stayed another 20 minutes after. Yeah. And thank you. And everyone else, please stay on, and Dr. Chappell and I are here for questions. So thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Good luck.
Hi, everybody. See you soon.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, Dr.
Best wishes. Yeah.
Their emails are in the chat, so please take advantage of that. My answer to that, we always encourage you to stay with your cohort if you can, but if life happens and that doesn't become possible, then our faculty and myself and David, our other staff member, are here to accommodate and make it happen for you. So if you found you were falling behind, or I just spoke to a student that might consider switching from the 2-year to the 3-year because some things have come up in his life. So we talk you through that and help you make the best decision for you. Any other questions? We did a lot of talking, but we're here. Always.
Could you do the 3-year program, but just involved on campus? But not like, I guess because I'm thinking of making a film for my thesis potentially. Could I potentially do like the regular 2-year program and then hypothetically spend like 3 to 6 months in India for my 3rd year?
Dr. Chappell says yes.
Yeah, sure.
He's nodding. Yeah, we can pretty much work with whatever you can dream up as long as it fits within this. There's the 2-year, there's the 3-year, and then yoga therapy can be part of that. It can be after that. And then however else we can support you in your journey.
Thank you. Amazing. Wow.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I'm curious how things feel out in California right now, because in the UK, I think we have about 1/3 of people with their first dose already kind of done. And I know Professor Chappell has had his. So I'm just curious about kind of what the trajectory looks like for the fall and how how you think things will be by then. I know it's still kind of hard to tell, but I'm just curious because I'm far away right now.
Yeah, we just had a town hall with our provost, and the enthusiasm for it being so much better is palpable. And what the President of the United States has said, that the vaccine should be available for everybody to be vaccinated by the end of May. And almost every day we're getting better and better news from the county in terms of fewer hospitalizations, fewer, positivity tests, fewer deaths. And we're a little bit behind the UK, I think, on the vaccinations, but we're really getting there, very close. Mm-hmm. And top of that, in LA County, they say that a third of the people had exposure anyway, so that now that 20% of us are vaccinated, then we just need probably another 6 weeks. And as they said in the paper today, there just won't be enough bodies for the virus to stay interested.
Mm-hmm. That's good news.
So it does look really good for campus reopening. I mean, it's been announced that it will reopen, and yeah, it's looking good.
It's nice to be optimistic about that now.
Yeah.
Good reasons to be.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions right now? And you know where to find us as well.
So Christine, where do you live?
I live at Cherry Hill, New Jersey.
In New Jersey, okay. Yeah, I officiated a wedding in Cherry Hill once.
Oh.
Yeah, a former student. And it's sort of a rambly, rural, semi-suburban type of area, right?
Southern New Jersey is very different from Northern New Jersey and Central Jersey. So a lot of different types of experiences, accents, and I teach up in the Princeton area. So I have about an hour commute, but it's a beautiful drive, especially during being able to see the change of season, fall and the winter. Yeah.
I have family in Red Bank and Brick, New Jersey.
Oh, yeah.
I try to make a trip when I get out there.
Yeah, it's hitting around 70 now, so we're getting this lovely spring weather now.
Northeast, you're counting down to the spring. I know that. Yes, Alex.
So other than the thesis, what are the top big projects or exams that you would say we look out for or just mentally prepared for?
Yeah, I think every class is a little bit different, but what I know I do is in my classes that are during the regular semester is I require 2 papers plus presentation. And then for the summer class, there's journaling, and that is about the immediate experience. And we're in India together. We don't really have the time to, or really, well, there are library facilities available to us, but there's no time to like hunker down in the library. So, and that class is very intensive because it's 3 weeks. So that's sort of journal time. And then for Lori, she gives quizzes along the way. So I think that there's small bite quizzes on anatomy and physiology. And for the Sanskrit, homework every class. And then, well, you've studied some Sanskrit, Alex, already. And then she also gives some quizzes, I think. So I think that that's sort of pretty much it.
And those 2 papers, how many pages, how long are those, would you say?
10 to 15.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what subject do you think those will be around?
Well, I'm teaching,
Oh, you're okay.
these courses right now. So in my class, your first paper in Indian philosophy is an aspect of Vedas or Upanishads or both. And the second is some aspect of Sankhya Yoga or Vedanta. And then in the comparative mysticism class, which I taught last semester, there's a study that you have to put together of a particular segment of the readings, which change every semester, and present and write about. And then you usually focus in on a particular either topic or figure, such as Davila or Rumi or Mirabai or whatever wrote, and you research and write about it.
Not in lieu, because I know for this program I have to develop the writing skills, but in addition to or in correspondence with, could I, because I'm making a film for my thesis, could I also add a film or something of that nature for my papers?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Something that Ashley touched on that I completely agree and often tell incoming students is, if you have a notion of what you might want to do for your thesis, use the papers, your writing and the research and the field work along the way. You may or may not use those pieces at the end, but you may, and it's useful to kind of use them. Or if you have 2 or 3 ideas that you're hashing out, you're not sure, you can weave those in, and maybe as you start to dive deeper, it becomes clear. So there is creative freedom, which I really enjoyed, that you get to pick a lot.
I just want to speak to that, Amy, that like Alex, as a doctoral student currently finishing up my thesis, I'm absolutely using information that I found way back when, like 6 years ago in my first papers. So the idea of prepping is wonderful. It really helps.
Yep.
And I do want to plant a little seed, Alex, that you may fall in love with the wellness part of the whole thing, and you may use your bridge into the hospital world as a way of thinking about developing a business model for clinics that can be replicated like what we do at Venice Family Clinic, but more broadly throughout the medical community.
We should talk more about that.
Yeah, no pressure, but
Everyone has their path in this work, and you're only partially the one discerning. Sometimes it feels it's beyond you. It's finding that path. Dharma, right? All right.
And I just want to ask Laura Lou, have you been in part of our yoga therapy program or anything?
I just do my Google search. So
oh, so you just found us. Okay.
Yeah,
Good,
I just
good.
found you guys, and I always wanted to be part of the understanding about yoga therapy, because my parents, especially my mom, is doing the yoga therapy right now in Taipei, Taiwan. So they talk about so much benefit about that, but they know I love yoga. So they told me, oh, when you retire, maybe you can come back to the hometown to teach yoga therapy. So then I'm like, I have to learn that first. So I kind of Google it. So I that's how I find you guys. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to put a name in the message. I have a friend who is in Taipei, TJ Peng.
Oh.
And he's sort of a high profile, talk show appearance type of yoga therapist there. And he's also a chiropractor. But ask your parents if they've run into TJ Peng.
Okay, I will. Thank you.
A lovely young man.
The yoga therapy program is amazing. I highly recommend. I've done 3 levels, level 1, level 2, and level 3, and the faculty, fantastic, eye-opening, wonderful.
Did you fly out for the weekends, or how did you do it, Christine?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, it wasn't exactly a hardship having to come out to California, once a month. So I would come out for a few days and over a week. In the beginning, I was like flying in on Friday and getting a red eye Sunday night. And I'm like, why am I, cutting myself? So I started to extend my time and explore around LA and fell in love with it. So
Yeah.
Good.
and now I'm at a position in my life where I'm an empty nester. So mom has more options now.
That's so great. That's so great. And just so you can take in the view here, this is where the whole thing started, was in this room. We've been in the house 30 years. And one of the first things I did when we moved in here was to run a yoga class. And then from 1996 to 2001, we met in this space every third Wednesday night for those 5 years. And we went through each and every Yoga Sutra in the Sanskrit with people who were disciples of Amaji, disciples of Guru Mai, followers of Muktananda, Shivananda, Swami Lakshmanju of the Vedanta Society, Paramahansa Yogananda. It was very ecumenical, and we just really enjoyed one another's company. And when that ended, that's when we said, let's think about doing more. So we've been at this now with the certificate programs in our 20th year. And it's been really a rewarding journey.
Thank you for sharing that, Professor Chappell. I had no idea it started in your home. That's so wonderful. You have such a beautiful home as well. Every time we speak, there's glorious sunshine in the background.
Yeah, we actually had rain yesterday, which was so great.
Oh, I sent it personally from Manchester. That's all we have right now.
Awesome. Thank you all for finding your way to join us today. And it was special. We try to have at least one student in the info sessions, but you got like creme de la creme right there. So hope that was helpful in your own discernment, in your own thinking and process. And don't hesitate to reach out. I think you have it, but I'll give you my email as you're moving through the application process, or you hit a roadblock and you're not sure how to go forward. You can give me a shout. We can set up a Zoom or a phone conversation and work through it. So thanks again for being here and sharing your stories. It's always fun to hear where people are coming from in their journeys.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so
for
much.
the panel. They were great.
Yeah, wonderful folk.
Yeah, they are. All right.
Okay,
Take care of yourself.
thank you. Namaste.
Thank you so much.
See you soon.